program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Week 13 of the NFL season and on Morning Tailgate here on Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and comment on the show wherever your shows may be. Also, leave a 5-star review for our network on Facebook. And just check out the schedule for shows all through the week. Of course, Between the Ropes will be soon. And then C2C at night on Monday, Game Night on Tuesday, Sports Hour Wednesday, Kicking It Thursday, Creeping It Real Thursday, and then Entertainment Hour on Friday. So there's a list of shows that I think everybody will enjoy, and there's more ideas coming on. Okay, with me today, of course, I'm James, but I got Primus on the side of me, and Big Blow below us, but certainly not below us. How's everyone doing?
Wow!
I'm sorry, I got my B's all confused. Primus, how's everything?
I'm doing good. Exciting. I'm excited. Didn't realize we had the big blow today. That's awesome. Excited to get into this week's games. We had 4 big games on Thursday and Friday, but most of us get into the meat of it today.
Yeah, Brandon, how's everything out there?
Well, everything's good. I mean, we're talking about big blows today. I mean, the Vikings blew us Viking fans away when they went out and signed Danny Dimes when he got released from the Giants. So kind of puts us all in a wondering what's going to happen, the next few weeks with Darnold, Daniels, JJ next year. So, yeah, the quarterback room in Minnesota is kind of taking a blow right now, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I think it's a safe signing just in case anything happens. He has that playoff game experience at Minnesota. I think, 2 years ago now it was, and or it's about to be 3 years. But hopefully you don't see him on the field. Hopefully you keep Sam Darnold on the field, and hopefully he can limit his turnovers, and they can go on from there.
Well, but the thing is, I mean, if we get him on the field, is he going to be the Giants, Danny Dimes, or is he actually going to be the one that was projected to be the superstar in the face of the Giants and stuff like that? So it's all to see. I mean, the talent is definitely different here in Minnesota than it was in New York. So
I think all you can do is probably use them in some wildcat formations where you really need like a 4th and 1 or something like that, and everybody knows you're trying to throw, and you put Daniel Jones back there with Sam Darnold and let him try to run like a running back. Some other news real quick. The Commanders placed Austin Eckler in IR. He had that horrible hit I think a couple of weeks ago, and he was concussed, and it just didn't look good at all. And they also released first-rounder Emmanuel Forbes. He just did not work out there, that corner who they drafted really high. That was really, really unfortunate to see that. The Chargers placed running back J.K. Dobbins on injured reserve with the sprained MCL. That's going to hurt the running game for the Chargers there. And the Bills will activate Matt Milano ahead of their game against San Francisco tonight. That's pretty much all the news you need to know. we're not going to plant any flags like college football and start any brawls today, I hope. That was just wild yesterday. It was like 3 or 4 I saw. That was crazy. But before that all happened, we were all together on Thanksgiving. And the 3 games that started out with the Bears and Lions, the Lions held on 23-20. They were just not in sync like they were. Jameson Williams had some bad penalties. But Caleb Williams at the end of that game, along with the former head coach, Eberflus, as he got fired the next day, just horrible clock management. I just couldn't believe what was going on. They had a timeout. There was 36 seconds. They could have called it. Instead, they ran all that time off, threw a pass, and it went incomplete, and the game was over. So you guys see the Lion game, and what was your reaction? I'll start with Primus. Yeah,
the Lions got out early, if I'm not mistaken, in that game, and then for some reason they just this is a team that, as good as they are, they can't play 2 halves. The week before against Indy, they didn't play the world's greatest first half, but the second half they came out and looked like the team that they were going to be. Then they came out in the first half against Chicago, and then forgot to play in the second half. It's crazy that that you don't call a timeout. Even in Pee Wee, you're calling timeout at 15. You get 36 seconds. You're inside Detroit's time, side of the field, and you don't kick a field goal to put the game into overtime. It's crazy. That was the last straw to have Eberflus go. Personally, I don't think Eberflus should have been a head coach. He was the defensive coordinator in Indy. I think he was a better defensive coordinator than he was a head coach. That hopefully he'll stay in the league, but I think he'll stay in the league as a defensive coordinator. Outside of that, if Detroit can put 2 halves together like they have, this team is a 16-1 team.
Yeah, they were up 16-0 in that game, and they let the Bears come back into it. Brandon, did you check it out, and what did you think about it?
Yeah, I was watching the game in between all the injury timeouts, and the end of the game just kind of threw me for a loop. I just could not believe it. Like you guys said, I mean, he let the time run. They did take the timeout. The refs, I will be on the side of the Bears fans on this one. Refs did a very bad no call there at the end to get them closer. But yeah, you're 3rd and 3, I think it was. You go and kick the field goal to try to tie it up. If anything goes wrong, then you got the 4th down to redo it. It was just all around bad play calling, time management at the end of that game. But it was actually a very good game.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought the Lions would blow them out.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
But yeah, the Bears at least showed up, except at the end there. But as we mentioned, Eberflus was fired the next day. Thought it should have happened maybe last year. I don't know. Yeah, even after that too. We'll go to Texas now, and Chris, of course, isn't here. He's with family, so we'll see him next week. But Overshawn had a great game along with Michael Parsons. Overshawn had the pick 6. The Cowboys held on 27-20 over the New York Giants. Actually, it was a very entertaining game. I didn't think it was going to be between the Cowboys and the Giants. But again, 27-20, the Cowboys held on. Great defensive effort for the Cowboys. The Giants, though, they were able to at least run the ball a little bit with Drew Luck. Get some other things done too, but is the 7th straight loss for the Giants over to the Cowboys, by the way. So, Primus, did you get to see this one?
I did not get to see this one. When I looked at the score, it was like that game as close as it was, because it's only a touchdown difference, and it's like, so, and then you find out that Locke threw a pick 6. I'm going, that legitimately was the difference in the game was the pick six
Mhm.
on a lot, because they could have easily gone in and scored, because that was what at the beginning of that drive. And yeah, it's I don't know. I don't. This is another one where I think the head coach is not too long for this world in the NFL.
Brian Dable on the hot seat, Belichick in the waiting maybe for the Giants, as well as Mike McCarthy. All of a sudden, he's been joyful on the sideline the last 2 weeks with wins over Washington and New York in the division. Brandon, what you think about the Cowboy game?
This was a good game. I thought this was going to be another kind of dull game. I thought it was going to either be a defensive battle or it was going to be very high scoring with no defense. But I picked the Giants to win this because they're going in with a third-string quarterback. Dallas just not being good at home. This is another game, too, that if it went Giants' way, we're probably talking about 2 coaches getting fired the next day because Dallas has not played good at home. National TV, Thursday night game, division rival. I mean, there's a lot of factors in this game if it went the wrong way. So, I mean, but overall, yeah, it was a good game. Good defensive battle for Dallas, who I think has probably, if healthy, one of the best defenses around. Offensive side, I mean, we all know that struggle there for them, but no, it was a good game, good showing. Yeah, great afternoon game on that one.
Yeah, I was really shocked to see the score and then to see it close and all that. Then the nightcap at Lambeau Field, and it was a very festive atmosphere. Packers got off to a great start in that game over the Dolphins. They win 30-17. Jordan Love threw for a couple touchdowns. Jacobs had another great game in the air and on the ground as well. I mean, he's just been great all year long. Former Raider doing well somewhere else. And again, Tua, even though he threw for 2 touchdowns, Geno Smith had the bulk of the receptions. Mostert and Achane didn't do much on the ground. The Packer defense just did well. It seemed like a total team effort for Green Bay on Thursday night there on Thanksgiving. So what? Tua's 0-6 in 40 degrees or less games now. I know that was a big thing. He was trying to break the stereotype or whatever it was. Primus, did you get to see this Packer game?
This one I can't say I did, and it's kind of sad because family being a Packer fan and my brother in the comments probably watched that game, probably loved that game. Tua, like you said, Tua's 0-6 now, but the Dolphins by themselves are 0-11 in the last 11 games. In the last 11 games below 40 degrees. The last time they beat anybody in the 40 and below 40 degrees was Christmas Eve in 2016 in Buffalo.
Wow.
It's crazy. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm really not surprised. The Green Bay's getting back to that part where I think it's the frozen tundra is really starting to go. The yardage there wasn't there for Love to Jalen Reed, but doesn't seem like it makes a difference because I think he only had 24 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns, so everything came inside the red zone. I think you're starting to look at his go-to guy being Reed. Not too shocked that the Dolphins lost in Green Bay. As it for being a festive thing, Green Bay's always festive. It's always like that win lose, but they're just kind of really weird in Green Bay, especially on Thursday night games like that on Thanksgiving.
Everything is close by, the neighborhood there. It's just amazing to see all that. Brandon, what did you think about this game?
It was a good game. I think even though being a Viking fan, like Tim said, that the tundra effect is coming back to where it's hard to beat this team in cold weather. They got a good connection with Love and Reed. The defense is kind of showing up. Dolphins, on the other hand, Tua's making adjustments, so he's not the running quarterback because he wants to be in this league, so he has to do his own thing. So you're kind of experimenting with the new play calling and new ideas for Tua. So I can see some struggles there, but I mean, Dolphins still are going to be a team. I think if they get it together, going to be a battle. But yeah, the Packers, on the other hand, like you said, Jacobs, he was doing his thing over in Green Bay now, which I wish he would have done in the Raiders like you would have. But yeah, it was a good game to end out Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we were hoping that game would have been closer and better, but the other two were, so that was amazing to look at. There was a Black Friday game. It happened to be the Raiders and the Chiefs, and even though the Raiders, they did well defensively, Aiden O'Connell threw for 2 touchdowns. McCormick had a good game on the ground, and then Bowers, the tight end, Brock Bowers, the rookie tight end, had a great game. Touchdown catch, 140 yards, receiving 10 receptions. They blew it at the end. The Chiefs went ugly. It was a very controversial call at the end where there was a fumble loss, but there should have been a false start or illegal procedure. Instead of the play being blown dead, there's a fumble recovery and the Chiefs win. Seems like the Chiefs always have the refs in their pockets, but they won ugly. Pacheco came back for the Chiefs, but the offense, I think, for Kansas City missed a lot of opportunities. A lot of again, great sets for the Raiders getting the Chiefs off the field, but the Raiders were able to get that, last drive and get into field goal range, but it just never happened. And Daniel Carlson, usually the kicker that is on, missed 3 of 4 kicks, and that was really just unfortunate to see. It would have been the difference in the game as the Chiefs held on to win 19-17. It was a real shocking game, I think, just the way it ended. Primus, what did you think about the Raiders and Chiefs?
I honestly thought, and I thought when I woke up the next morning and I looked at the score and it said 19-17, I'm like, are you kidding me? For a team being 10-1, what have they been known as being the worst 10-1 team in history because they've got a point differential of 54 points. They clinched a playoff spot against the Raiders. And we're not going to tell the Giants fans, but they're the only team right now that's been officially eliminated from the playoffs.
The Raiders are too now.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring that up, but you can. I think we used to make the comment that the ball bounces. The ball bounces the right way. If the ball doesn't bounce that way, they're definitely not 10-1. They're definitely not what they are. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know what happened in that game. And then I hear the controversy just likes to follow the Kansas City Chiefs everywhere it goes. It's a surprise. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate but to let that get in the ref's hands, that's always the worst thing, where you can't control it yourself. The Chiefs handed the Raiders their 8th straight loss, and again, out of playoff contention. They were off playoff contention when they signed Gardner Minshew. Let's just be honest. Brandon,
I'm happy with you, and he's not with me.
Torture.
This game I did not get to see because I was very, very busy at work, but saw the highlights. The KC's the worst 10-1 team. I think the Vikings a few years ago probably would have been in that class too, because I think they had a point differential and a negative as a playoff team. Carlson, James stated that he missed 3 of 4, but those 3 were 50-plus yarders. So those are hit or miss, depending on the wind and stuff. I would have gave him a shot to kick the field goal towards the end there. I think it was 3rd and 3. This is the one that I saw was 3rd and 3. They, like James said, had a couple miscues or something, and I don't know why they didn't kick it out right there. I think they're on the 25-yard line or inside the 20 somewhere in there in KC land. But yeah, Casey's always seems to, as people say, have the refs in their pocket. But James made a good point. You don't let the refs dictate the game for you. So, but yeah, they're 10-1 and in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get to Sunday's games. We have a divisional matchup to start. The Houston Texans going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars, both coming off losses, one embarrassing and one not. Remember, Jacksonville was blown out in Detroit. I thought Todd Peterson would have got fired after that. Tennessee went to Houston last week to beat the Texans, so both teams trying to bounce back. Houston is favored slightly. Definitely not the same Houston team, as it feels like CJ Stroud's having a sophomore slump, whatever the case may be. 7-5 Houston, 2-9 Jacksonville. How do you see this going? I'm going to say Houston wins, but again, I think it's going to be just by a couple of points. Primus.
Yeah, I this is a day where I should be, as a Colts fan, I should be pulling for the Jaguars. They look like they're getting Trevor Lawrence back.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be back in for tonight's game, this afternoon's game. To me, it's tonight. I think it's going to be a lot better. Like you said, the Houston isn't the same. I think they haven't been the same since they lost Diggs. They haven't been the same since they lost Christian Kirk. No, Kirk is on the other side. But I think the only guy that's really keeping them in these games is Joe Mixon and that defense. I still like Houston because Jacksonville isn't played. We've been so used to the Jaguars defense being such a top 10, top 5 defense, and they haven't been that as of late. I think this is going to be a nice little breath of fresh air for the Houston Texans. As much as I hate it, I think it's going to be the Texans, and I think it's probably by maybe 6-7 points.
B.
Yeah, this game. When I got the list of games this morning, I had trouble picking, and people are going to go, "Why, really?" Because if you guys all know, I have Houston as my Super Bowl team, but they just haven't looked the same. And Jacksonville, you just never know what you're going to get with them, and they're at home. But yeah, I got Houston in a close one, the 6-7 point range, but it would not shock me if we see an upset today in this game.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, NFC battle, we have Arizona at Minnesota. Arizona trying to shake off their loss in Seattle last week, and Minnesota escaped in Chicago with the overtime field goal win. Both teams coming in. Arizona is 6-5. Vikings at 9-2. Again, it's Minnesota's favored slightly. This game probably for me is going to come down to whoever makes the most turnovers will lose. And if Kyler Murray gets chased around by that Viking defense, it's probably going to be a long day. As long as they keep Connor boxed in and stopped, I think the Vikings should win this. What do you think? Start with Big B this time.
Man, the last few games have just been scary ones for Minnesota. I mean, Jacksonville should have lost. The Bears won. They definitely should have lost. And now you come home and you play the Cardinals, who, again, the team, like you said, James, if you get Colin Murray going and Collins going or Connor going, you're going to be in trouble. The Vikings defense has been tough. They're going to be having to shut down those guys. The offense has to step up. I think the offense really has to step up. You got to get a big game out of Justin Jefferson and Addison and get a good running game going. Man, I hate to say this is going to be a scary one, but I see like a 10-point victory by Minnesota, and it's just, I know they're home after 3 weeks, so maybe that home cooking will get the juices flowing, and we get a good offensive look here by the Vikings. But I got the Vikings.
Yeah, same thing. What about you, Prime?
I've got the Vikings, but I think it's going to be where where Darnold's going to play more of a game manager at this point, kind of a Brock Purdy type. You want to take it out of the guy who's more hands out of the guy who's more likely going to give you the problems, and it's going to give you more create more mistakes. I think you lean heavily on Aaron Jones, especially against the Arizona rush defense. I think this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to do Brandon a very big disjustice because I know what I'm doing. Because every time I seem to pick a lock, it goes the wrong way. But I'm going to take the Vikings, and I'm going to take them as my lock.
Yeah, I wasn't as brave.
Really, dude?
All right. The next one, Seattle at 6-5, going to New York or New Jersey to face the New York Jets, who are 3-8, almost going to be eliminated. Aaron Rodgers, probably won't be there after this year. The bye week was just an awful week for the Jets. They lost to Indy before that. At home, and again, Arizona lost to Seattle last week. Seattle's favored slightly again in this one. To me, Jets, it just feels like Aaron Rodgers should retire. He's not having good rapport with anyone right now or good connection with anyone. Seattle getting it done with their young defense last week. Hopefully will continue that trend. If you're a Seahawk fan out there, I'm going to go with Seattle on this on the road. I think they're playing for something, and the Jets are just playing out the season for me. Primus, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a Geno Smith revenge game.
Yes,
and it's going to be interesting to watch. I think I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Aaron Rodgers, if it's bad, I think Aaron Rodgers gets benched at halftime.
Wow.
I think with Geno Smith is going to throw all over the field. I like the defense against the Jets because before I say I like the defense for the Jets, but I don't.
Not lately.
It's you can't look at it that way. I think Breece Hall a game time decision too?
Yeah.
Right there is another thing that hurts, and I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. I saw him 2 weeks ago against Indy, and he just looks like a complete shell of himself. I don't know. It's like what they were thinking. I've got the Seahawks in this game, and I think it's going to be an ass whooping of the century.
I'm gonna say probably the first one to 17 wins. It'd probably be 17 to 9 or 10 Seahawks in this one. What about you, Brandon?
Man, yeah, I mean, I'll just come out and say, I mean, Seattle's going to win this one. Aaron Rodgers, I will say it, I'll admit, I kind of feel sorry for the guy a little bit because, the Jets don't want you there. So do you go out and try to help them win, or do you help them get closer to the first overall pick? I mean, he's got tough choices to make, but yeah, I don't see how the Jets can win this game. I'm with Tim. I think this is just going to be a air it out show for Geno Smith and that weapons that he has there. We're going to see a lot of points for Seattle, I think, today.
All right. So we have, to me, a Spider-Man mean game with this one. The Chargers and the Falcons. The Chargers are 7-4. The Falcons are 6-5. Chargers are slightly favored by 1 point. But the reason I say this is because both quarterbacks play well, but can also turn over the ball. Both defenses can show up at times, but then eventually lose the game for them. More of the Chargers better on that side, but both teams have a way to, give up games, it seems like. So that's why I mentioned that. Chargers coming off their Monday night loss in the Harbaugh Bowl, and then in Denver after they had a bye week, did Atlanta, but before that they were blown out at Denver. They had no shot from that game from start. For me, I'm going to go with the Chargers, even though they lost J.K. Dobbins. It gives Gus Edwards a good running chance up the middle, and hopefully Quentin Johnson can hold on to the ball for the Chargers. He had 3 big drops in that Monday night game against Baltimore. I think the Charger defense does enough to win this game. The only hope for the Falcons is hopefully they outscore them. That's the only hope there for the Falcons, I think. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. What do you think, Brad?
I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they're going to find a way to win this game, even though they're not in it.
Next week.
I think this is going to be one of those games. Whoever's got the ball last is gonna win. I think J.K. Dobbins being out hurts, but like you said, Gus Edwards is a very suitable backup for the Chargers. I like Atlanta. But I think this is going to be. I hope it doesn't come down to a field goal because their kicker is questionable in Atlanta.
Oh, Young Ho Koo.
Yeah, he's questionable, but yeah, that's a name I want to say 5 times fast. But I've got the Falcons, but it's going to be close. I think this is going to be an overtime game.
Yeah, hopefully it comes down to the kickers. Koo, of course, was a former Charger kicker. He was released in 2017, and he's found a home there in Atlanta, so hopefully he plays today. B, what did you think about this game?
Tim, look it up for me because I was debating on back and forth on this one. I think I went the Chargers on this one. And Seattle was my lock, I believe, too. So, because I was debating on which offense I wanted to put more trust in because I think the Chargers does.
Seattle is your lock, and you've got the Falcons for this game.
I do have Falcons in this one. Okay. Oh, yeah, it was a tough one. I think I went with Atlanta just because they were at home today. Yeah, this game, I think you guys are right. I think we're going to see an overtime. I think we're going to see a close one. Yeah, if it comes down to the Atlanta kicker, he's questionable. That's going to hurt. But, yeah, I'll take Atlanta in a close one, overtime, just like we're talking about. So, with that being said, guys, that's my last game. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have a good one.
All right, Brandon. All right, so we'll go to AFC North matchup. The Steelers at 8-3 go to Cincinnati to face the Bengals, who are 4-7. This one again will be a close one. I think it's going to come down to which offense is more potent. We're looking right now, of course, at the what they've done recently, and the Bengals had the bye week, and they lost it with the Chargers on Sunday night. Last Thursday, the Steelers lost in that divisional game in snowy Cleveland, at least in the second half. So can't really tell right now. Both teams are faltering. It feels like if Cincinnati loses this, it feels like they're out of it, but not mathematically, but they just have so many people in front of them. Man, I'm not sure which way to go because, Cincinnati can score so well and they're coming off a bye. Pitt has had a lot of time off as well. I'll go with Pittsburgh. I think the defense does enough. The offensive line for Cincinnati, you can never trust them to keep Burrow upright. And I just think Pittsburgh has enough high-end talent to get it done. This year, you can't really trust Cincy. It's weird. But they've lost so many games right away from the start, and that's really hindered their chances. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh. What do you think, Primus?
Yeah, I completely agree with Cincinnati. They've got what, a top 5 quarterback who in yardage and touchdowns. You've got the number 1 wide receiver in yardage and touchdowns. Yet they're the number 3 team in the NFC and the AFC North. This team should be fighting with Kansas City as best record in the league with what they've got. But yet this is the anti-Chiefs. This is the ball bounces a different way, and we're talking about the Bengals being 11-1 and not what they are. I think Pittsburgh comes in here, and I know Cincinnati's favored in this game, but I think because of that embarrassment that Pittsburgh took against Cleveland, I think they're going to take it out on. They're going to take it out on Cincy. I think the Steelers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be close as long as Burrow plays like he does and Chase plays like he does, but it's the Pittsburgh Steelers defense that I think is going to take over this game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that divisional game. Maybe it won't be high scoring as I would think. All right, the 5-7 Colts go to New England to face the Patriots, who are 3-9. I think the Colts are slight favorites in this one. I think it's going to come down to the Indy defense, and if they can, make Drake May throw when he doesn't want to, that's going to be a big thing. And hopefully the Colts can get the running game back and going. We'll see if that happens. The Colts, of course, last week, what did they do? They lost to Detroit at home, and Miami blew out the Patriots. So both teams trying to get back on the winning side. How do you see? I see the Colts winning. What do you think, Primus?
Well, I see the Colts winning, and you brought up the right part of the team that's going to do it. I think the defense, their stat line doesn't look the prettiest, but they're the only thing that's keeping Indy in 99% of these games. Indy's going to be without Josh Downs, Ashton Doolin. They're going to be out, and then there's Alec Pierce is questionable, so we could be out 3 of our top 5 wide receivers. We've got Tanner Bortolini, the backup center, is out, where we find out that Mo Alley Cox, our tight end, has taken snaps at the center position. We're out Braden Smith. It's going to be it's tough. We last week we started 3, and this is ridiculous. When you're playing the Detroit Lions, you started 3 offensive linemen that were rookies. It gives us a lot of hope because we can build a lot on a lot of that stuff. What the Indy needs to do is rely heavily on Jonathan Taylor. They seem to let Taylor run for a half and forget that he actually exists in the backfield after a while. It's going to be a nice little convenience that we're playing the New England Patriots because we can get our back ourselves on the winning way. We're playing 5 straight games now, 5 games where we could easily win and put ourselves seriously back in the playoff hunt again. New England's surprised me as of late. Outside of they played the Dolphins last week. Outside of that, Drake May looks impressive to me still a little bit. But yeah, I've got Indy in this game. I think it's going to be 10 points, but I think the score is not going to tell how close that game really is.
Yeah, it's definitely true. The Titans coming off a win, they're 3-8, take on the Commanders in Washington, who are 7-5. Washington is favored, but we'll see what happens because, again, Tennessee coming off the divisional win in Houston looks a little better. Will Levis somehow looks a little better. Washington coming off the loss last week, the divisional loss at home against Dallas. And, they've lost 3 straight. They're kind of reeling at the worst time. And all that luster that Washington had for a little bit has kind of gone away. It's really unfortunate, too. I think Daniels has lost the rookie award maybe to Bo Nix. That's how bad it's gone. And again, without Eckler, Washington's going to have to find another way how to run the ball or throw it through the air. So I'm going to go with Washington, but I think it's going to be closer than that 6-point spread over Tennessee. Primus, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got Washington in this game too. Yeah, Eckler hurts, but they've got a very, very good running back in Brian Robinson that they got last year. I think the embarrassment of them losing to Dallas and the way that they did last week, I think really is going to sit on the minds of the Commanders, and they see a team that's you see a little wounded team in Tennessee who's through 3-8, really going to find themselves playing for everything now. They have to start winning now, or they're not even going to look at the playoffs. But yeah, like you said, Commanders are tanking at the world's worst time. This is about the time that you should be ramping it up, getting ready to make that postseason push. I think the Commanders getting the Titans at this time is going to be pretty huge. I think it's going to be closer. Like you said, it's going to be closer than the 6 points. But I like the Commanders. I think everything starts lining itself back up for the Commanders starting today.
I think the hardest thing for a young team like Washington is to get to these later months and to have the same fight and energy and heart like you did to start the season. And you can say, hey, they got lucky with the Hail Mary and another play too, and they only lost by a couple of extra points last week.
Right.
Those little things deflate a team, and you can just tell that right now. But hopefully they can get it going. If not, Tennessee wins. You could tell Washington you can't trust them ever again this year.
I got a little breaking news. Brees Hall is in, and Alec Pierce is in.
They got to get Brees Hall the ball for the Jets. They got to do something better than what they've been doing. I mean, it can't be Rodgers trying to roll out slowly and just throwing the ball away or whatever. It's got to be something better for the for the Jets. And then Alec Pierce, that's a big weapon for the Colts to have back, but I know he'll be limited.
He's our deep threat. He right now, if he were to what did they say? If he had the minimum amount of receptions, he would lead the league in yards per completion.
That's something right there. That just tells you Pittman has been often injured as well. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but good sign to have him back. We have a divisional game in the NFC South. The 5-6 Buccaneers take on the 3-8 Panthers. Tampa Bay is favored, but recently Bryce Young has been playing better. They had that late loss to the Chiefs and just by 3 after a field goal, and it was good though because the Panthers, really showed up in that game. The defense again showed up. Tampa Bay coming off the big win in Jersey. Baker Mayfield 30-7. It was a grueling game for the Giants. But Tampa Bay looks good right now. I'm gonna say they win, maybe by I'm gonna say a touchdown. What do you think? Tampa Bay over Carolina?
I've got Tampa Bay that wins. Right now, Carolina is starting to show a little bit of signs of life. Granted, they're probably not playing for a playoff spot. Too many teams at that 8-loss spot that are fighting for far too much above them. But that's a good sign that Bryce Young has took his benching took it and learned something from it. Now your problem is now you got to go and face the Tampa defense. Baker's been playing, I think, out of his skull. He's got 24 touchdowns, and I never thought I'd see the day where Baker Mayfield looks like he's a top 10 quarterback in the league, especially the way he used to be. I think this game's going to be close. I think it's going to be a 6-point game, but I definitely have Tampa in this game.
Yeah, Tampa's trending the right way toward the division if the Falcons lose or continue to lose. And then his career has, he's found a home in Tampa. They paid him well, and I'm kind of happy for him. This used to be a divisional game. The 5-6 Rams take on the Saints in New Orleans, who are 4-7. Rams are favored slightly. Last week, of course, the Rams lost to Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football. I mean, Saquon Barkley ran through them. It was just embarrassing. New Orleans defeated Jameis Winston and the Browns 2 weeks ago. They were on a bye. I feel like the Rams win this, but they got to get some defensive stops. They just have to, again, Kirill Kamara in the box and then not let anything happen with Taysom Hill and whomever on the Saints. That's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. I'm going to go with LA in this one. What do you think, Primus?
Yeah, I've got the Rams in this game too. The only thing that concerns me, like you said, the way Barkley went through, the way the Barkley went through the Rams, it should kind of scare people. I think you want to hold Kamara in that box. The Saints are still without Olave for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, but I think this is the point where Stafford's really got to start finding his wide receivers and stretch and lengthen that field on the Saints. you don't want to put it in Kamara and Taysom Hill's hands because the Saints will beat you that way. Yeah, like I said, I've got the Rams too. I think this is going to be another close game. We're to the point where these games are getting to be close.
And don't let Derek Carr find any confidence.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Keep him down. I think the best game of the week, I should say, the Eagles at 9-2 go to Baltimore, whom is 8-4. Baltimore slightly favored. This is the battle of the running backs, no doubt about it, but don't forget about the quarterbacks as well. Philly, of course, coming off the Sunday night win. Baltimore coming off the Monday night win. You have Hurts versus Jackson, Barkley versus Henry. We have just a plethora of stars in this lineup. The defense is trying to find their way. That's going to be the big key. Whoever makes the stops, whatever the case goes. Whew, this one I'm having a tough with. Battle of the Birds here. I think Lamar Jackson is 19 or 22-1 against the NFC as well. I know that's what has happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Philly wins. I think the defense gets it done. They have enough of Saquon Barkley, and then you add A.J. Brown into it as well. Baltimore's defense, they've been prone to give up some really big plays, and I think it happens today, unfortunately. Finally, I think Jackson has an NFC loss. It's been a while. So, yeah, I'm going to go Philly just slightly. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking up that stat that you're looking at, and Lamar Jackson is 23-1 in his career.
23-1.
Against NFC teams. I can't remember who he last lost to. Can't remember it out of the top of my head, but this is going to be one of those games where there are marquee matchups left, right, and center in this game. Like you said, Jalen Hurts against Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley versus Derrick Henry, two guys that left their teams and have now looked like superstars. Well, they were superstars before. This is the game. This has definitely got game of the year potential written all over it. Unlike you, I like to run. I'm going to run with the streak of 23-1. The Undertaker streak, as I want to call it. I've got Lamar. I've got the Ravens, but this is going to be a close game.
By the way, so Lamar Jackson's only NFC loss came against the Giants, who were playoff bound in 2022, October 16th at MetLife, 24-20. That's been it against the NFC. I don't remember that game, but I should have.
Is that Danny Dimes?
Yeah, because that was the year that they went to the playoffs, won the playoff game in Minnesota. Then you haven't heard from him since. The Sunday night game is probably going to be a dud. The 49ers are 5-6. The Bills are 9-2. Buffalo's favored, of course, in this one, 6.5, but it should be a little bit more. Purdy is back, I think. Yeah, he's listed for questionable, but he should be expected to play. Trent Williams has been ruled out for Sunday's game, the left tackle. That's going to be an issue. Green Bay's coming off the loss San Francisco's coming off the loss in Green Bay last week, 38-10. And then Buffalo's coming off the bye week. But before that, they defeated Kansas City in Buffalo, 30-21. This one was definitely slated to being a big matchup, but I think it's, been turned down from the 49er perspective there. I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to make it my lock. I think they win by at least 10. 49ers going back east, and it should be a snow game from what I'm seeing. What do you think, Primus?
I've got the Bills as well. I feel Purdy makes it a little closer, but that's about it. Like you said, Milano's coming off the IR. Is he slated to play, or is he just
still says questionable for Brock Purdy?
For Milano.
Milano said, he's slated to play.
Well, he's slated to play.
Yeah,
Well,
no, he is.
that helps. That's another guy who's got a lot of stroke in the defense. I think from what I've seen from Buffalo, I think Buffalo's is another team that's picking up at the right time too. Um, I thought this was going to be a Super Bowl precursor, but we're not going to get that lucky. I don't think. Like I said, I've got the Bills. I like the way the Bills are playing.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see that. The Monday night game, the Browns 3-8, the Broncos who are 7-5. They have the last wild card spot, I believe, in the AFC.
They've got a two game lead over. Who did I see it as? The 2-game lead over
Miami,
Indy and Miami.
Yeah, and then Cincinnati's a game behind those two.
Yep.
Whom are out. Cleveland coming off the win on Thursday Night Football over the Steelers. And then Denver last week winning in Las Vegas 29-19. Definitely held on to that one. Defensively, they did a lot well. Bo Nix should be in the game. He has no injury distinction. But, yeah, I'm going to go Denver in this game. It'd be good to see because good to see Denver do well on a Monday night stage like this. Hopefully he throws for a couple of touchdowns, but Myles Garrett's always a threat. You have Denzel Ward in the secondary for Cleveland, and it's not going to be easy. That's where you got to rely on Javonte Williams, who's having a good year, good comeback year. Hopefully you rely on him with the running game. I'm going to say Denver wins again by at least 10. Jameis Winston seems like he has like one good week and then 3 bad ones, and then he's just never able to put a complete streak of good games going. That's what it feels like. So, yeah, I'm going Denver in the Monday night game. What do you think?
I've got Denver. I want to make sure if is this Bo Nix's first Monday night game?
Yeah,
because we're going to see what he can do with the pressure on him of being the national game. I like the kid. The kid's surprised me. I think there was a lot of teams out there that kind of wish they had drafted Bo Nix just by seeing what he's done. Like you said, Jameis Winston. This is the knock on Winston. He's got one good game, and then he's got 2 mediocres, and then one terrible crap storm of a game. He's never had this. He's never looked like he did the first year that he was in Tampa after, and it hasn't been the same since. But it's nice that he's found a home in Cleveland. I like Denver in that defense. I don't think this game is going to be close. I think that defense is going to make Jameis Winston throw 2-3 picks.
Yeah, the young defense for Denver has been tremendous. By the way, I think in a couple of weeks, the Chargers and Broncos will play on Thursday Night Football. So it would be another opportunity for Bo Nix to play on Sunday night or Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that was the game. Was that the game that was flexed out?
Right, flexed into Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
And then maybe later in the year, depending where Denver is, maybe they'll have a home game on Sunday Night Football, depending on where it goes. Maybe a Monday night game, too. Who knows? I know Week 16, Atlanta goes to Las Vegas. I don't think anybody wants to watch that from Monday Night Football, so look for that to be flexed as well. All right, so that's been the Week 13 picks. Prime use. Let's hear your Prime 5.
All right, I kind of hinted at it backstage, and then I realized what I said wasn't what I wrote down. And I'm always thinking of this, and I'm a little leery. I talked backstage with you about international games, and I'm thinking, that wasn't the one my wife picked. I thought I had 2 ideas if what would happen for international games, but then I realized I went with expansion for international teams. Instead, if they ever to expand, where would they go internationally if they were to expand? My number 5, I kind of, it's a little personal for me because of where I'm at. Most people don't know who we're watching. I'm in Italy, so I kind of would like to get a chance to watch a game, and why not put 8 games in Italy. I love it. So my number 5 is Rome. Even though I'm a 3-hour train ride away from Rome, I would definitely try to go to as many games as I can. Number 4, I think I go in the opposite direction. I go west. We brought it up about how they used to have a preseason game in Tokyo. I think it'd be cool. I think if you branch out in that direction, I think Tokyo would be a great place to put an international team. To me, I remember my number 3. I remember not, what was it, early 2000s, where the Buffalo Bills were testing the waters in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a nice place to stretch, would be to Toronto. I think you're getting a lot. And I forgot all about the Mexico City, so Mexico City's not really on this list. But that's an honorable mention after we talked about it earlier. Number 2, I think Berlin would be a really good idea. I think Berlin has a great following, especially when the World League of American Football was there. I think you saw a lot when the Rhine Fire and the Berlin teams were there. I think it's a great idea. And truthfully, I think, my number 1 team, everybody keeps forgetting that the Glazers own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they also own Manchester United. I think, but everybody's talking about Shad Khan moving the Jaguars to London. I think that would be a great place. We've seen London having at least two regular season games, and they absolutely sell out a stadium. But I think they would be smart if they were to build a stadium outside of using the stadiums that they got and wrecking the fields. But that's the way I would go: Rome, Tokyo, Toronto, Berlin, or London.
The issues that I see just with any international team would be the travel for the teams going in, and then the conditions of the field. That's always been an issue as well. Right. That's something you would just have to take the technology from here and put it over there. That's the way that I would look at it. And then, yeah, I don't know if it'll ever happen. You could do it on Madden, I think, where you can move teams in Mexico City and London and wherever else you want. I don't see it happening, but I know they keep talking about it. Actually, I don't even see another team moving in the USA for a while. Yeah. Because everybody eventually is getting their stadiums. Tennessee's got their apartment-looking building, and then Jacksonville's going to have a prototype of every other new stadium. Exactly. Jets and Giants eventually going to have a new one. Years from now. Chicago's eventually going to have theirs. LA teams are there. Las Vegas is there. So it just seems like no other team needs a new stadium, or Buffalo's getting theirs too. I know for years they were threatening to move, and that's why they, like you said, tested the waters in Toronto in the late 2000s and 2010s. Yeah. They didn't draw as well, though, after a while in the Sky Dome there, Rogers Center. So that's why they stopped putting the games there. But that's what I've noticed with Toronto. They did not draw well when the Bills went up there. The Bills didn't have the best teams as well going there. Right. I think I think they didn't even win a game whenever they went to Toronto, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think the other thing is I think especially Toronto. Toronto's really, really big in hometown pride, and I think I think that was another thing why the Bills didn't succeed putting anything in there, because they felt like the Toronto fans were cheating on the Argonauts. And it's, they're really, really, really particular about who they let into their city to play. And and especially with the Argonauts and how well the Argonauts play, you're stepping on the wrong toes. And especially when the Argonauts, I think CFL's running right now, if I'm not mistaken.
The Grey Cup was a couple of weeks ago, and I
Yeah.
think Toronto won it. So John Candy up there would be very happy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I was trying to remember something else you mentioned, but about the international games or international, expansion teams or whatever. Would you have? Don't okay. My question to you. Okay, how would you have the season? Would you split it up where the road, the first part of the season, let's say the London Jaguars, right? They would be there. Okay, the first part of the season, would it be all home games, and then the late part would be all road games in America? How would you do the season?
Ooh, I never even thought of that. I don't. Wow. Wow. Now I'm just wishing I had done more. Just done more international games. I you kind of would. I think you would be. It would be smarter to run away games. Well, if you do it London, London's got pretty much the same temperature as like New York, in that area. I would play London, like you said. I'd play London at home for the first half of the season, and then play away for the last half of the season. Um, it definitely be cheaper on mileage. It'd be on mileage. You would play. You would probably your bigger problem. You'd have to find a place to have you as your de facto um, um, practice facilities in the United States, especially for the last half of the season for being away.
Yeah.
That's the only knock, I think. Um, and in that case, if something like you said, London, the Jaguars play in London, you could still have the Jaguars as being the de facto practice facility for the Jaguars during their away period.
And then last thing, do you think a Super Bowl will ever be international?
No, I think
I
that
don't think so either.
I don't think so, because it's this. I think it's the same reason, and I hate to say it. And Brandon, hope Brandon's not watching this because he's getting ready to hear what he doesn't want to hear. It's the same reason why WrestleMania is never international, because the draw is too huge. You kind of want to keep the money, the touristic money, inside the United States. You want to keep the profits and the proceeds that come into a city that hosts a Super Bowl or an All-Star game in the NBA or the WrestleMania in the WWE. It's huge. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And the NFL will never the owners will never let it happen, because they like to keep the proceeds inside the United States. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, it would be weird not because that's part of Americana is the Super Bowl. Like everybody has parties or whatever, and there's even talk about having that the next day as a day off. I kind of wish they would have it on a Saturday, so everybody would have Sunday off. It would just be weird not to be playing on the Sunday. And what I miss too about the Super Bowls is the outdoor part. A lot of them have been indoors and climate controlled, but you miss the flyovers, you miss whatever when you go to these games. If you're inside those games, if you pay all those thousands of dollars, you don't see the flyovers, you don't see the spectacle, you don't have the weather. So hopefully we get back to that as the Super Bowls move around. This year, of course, is in New Orleans inside. Next year, I forgot next year, but that's been all, I guess, for Morning Tailgate, week 13. It's been a fun ride, and hopefully we get some surprises today, and can't wait for the Birds game is going to be interesting. Maybe Chargers and Falcons, but that's about it. Primus, any final thoughts?
No, I want to thank everybody for watching, my brother for watching, everybody else that watched. We've got Morning Tailgate, and then we had Morning Tailgate today. Then joined Big B and I on Tuesday for C2C Rankum, where we're doing a bit of a wrestling thing. And then we're back here with Big Game James and Bacon and Big Blow Brandon himself back here on Morning Tailgate. Yeah, I'm not going to let you live that one down for a minute.
Too many B's, man. I got mixed up. I keep forgetting to mention you guys' show. Ugh.
That's right.
I forget about it. All right. We'll see you next time on Morning Tailgate here on Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. We'll see you next time. Later.